Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy, Nate Weitzer, holding it down on the East Coast per usual. And we've got a much bigger slate tonight, Nate, on Wednesday night here. We've got 3 videos up for you. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page and check all those out. Nate does have another great article up on playpicks.com as well with those best bets and some player props for you as well. We will be diving into the Chicago Bulls and Portland Trail Blazers in this video. But as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's jump into it.
Yeah, the Bulls still out west road tripping are plus 1.5 at Portland. Excuse me, I would have assumed they'd be minus at this point, but here we are. The total hovering around 220. And before we get into that game, looking at the other games on this full slate, we have Pacers -6 at Pistons, Wizards +1 at Hornets, Celtics +4.5 at Hawks. We're going to have a video up about that one. Pelicans +8 at Heat. The Lakers all the way up to +9.5 at the Bucks. That seems exploitable. Cavs +9 at Nets. Magic +11 at Knicks. Rockets +3.5 at Thunder. Kings +2.5 at Wolves. And the Mavericks without Luka Doncic +8 at Phoenix. Look, the Bulls, even without Nikola Vucevic, who, I mean, is a defensive liability, let's face it, they've been killing it on this West Coast road trip. I'm not sure that it really matters when in these particular matchups against teams that like to play small, like Portland. I don't think that they're going to miss their center that much. They start Caruso instead of him, who's just an absolute pest. 4 guards like CJ and Dame. He's questionable tonight, but fully expected to play. They've increased the pace. They've increased fast break points without Vooch. And they're just out to make statements this year. They're 5-1 against the spread and straight up against the Western Conference, 5-2 against the spread and straight up on the road this year. And they have a lot of quality wins after starting with somewhat soft schedule. We all know how I feel about DeMar DeRozan. Clearly just an absolute killer in the half court and a game winner walking. And Zach LaVine also had a lot of success against this Portland team that doesn't defend shooting guards very well, hasn't for years. Portland showing a little bit more fight at home recently, but still just kind of a listless team that has a defensive scheme under Chauncey Billups that has not really been gangbusters by any means. Teams have been able to exploit it. And I think that Billy Donovan, one of the best coaches in the NBA for sure, will have some things up his sleeve to crack, the rookie head coach and his scheme and keep his Bulls rolling on the road.
Yeah, that's what I think. My initial thought too, when I saw that spread, I was just like, that's wrong. I mean, it opened pretty high, right, for the Blazers there. I believe about 3 points. Still felt really high that they were favored there. Reasoning being, at this point, the Bulls are playing their 4th straight road game, as you mentioned, far away from home there on the West Coast. And the Blazers are a much better team at home. That's really the only narrative here that troubles me a little bit about just straight up taking the Bulls. Now that we are down to about -1.5 too, feels for the Blazers, it feels like a little bit more of a money line pick for the Bulls at this point if you do want to take them. But I'm going to start actually with the under just because of how good Chicago has been on defense. As you mentioned, you sub in Alex Caruso and honestly Derek Jones Jr. getting a bunch more run too now for Vucevic, and you're going to increase your pace, you're going to increase your defense, and you're going to increase your fast. It's all going to work that way, and it was a thing of beauty to watch against the Lakers the other night, which is kind of why the initial reaction is, wow, they look so good against the Lakers. How are they dogs right now? But because of what Portland has done at home in terms of the difference on the road, at home they've got a 104.7 defensive rating. On the road, it's 118. And then at the offensive rating, same concept. At home, 117.5, really good. On the road, 106.6. So that's really where they're losing, all of their stats and any sort of semblance of being a good team is when they get on the road. But you look at who they played at home as well. They did beat the Clippers. They beat Memphis early on, and they beat Phoenix in the second game of the season. which was still a Phoenix team still finding itself, to be honest. It was definitely a bit of a hangover for them for the championship, so I don't give as much credence to that game. My main point is I think that their quality stats at home, especially on offense, have been against teams that they were able to take advantage of. A big part of that as well is CJ McCollum, whose splits are ridiculously different. 24 points at home on 47% from the field and 44% from three at home, on the road. CJ's 19 points, 39% from the field and 35 from three. So way different. He's a big reason for it. And Dame, while he's picked it up a bit recently, still is not someone that I feel comfortable with this defensive backcourt working as it has. I mean, specifically all four guys for the Bulls in terms of Caruso and Ball, and then Levine and DeRozan also getting out on the fast break and being two of the top scoring guards in the league right now. So I'm really just feeling the Bulls a ton right now. What they've done against great competition on the road. They're 5-2 against the spread, including beating the Bulls and the Clippers and the Lakers all on the road. So right now, because of the defense that Chicago is playing and the fact that the under has actually hit a good amount for them, even when they are playing teams that play in a fast pace. You look at their last three against the Warriors, Clippers, and the Lakers and the Nets. I'll throw in there as well. All four of those teams in the top 10 in pace. Yet three of those games went under for the Bulls because they're playing a ton of defense. Really, they've been scoring as well, to be honest, but they've been holding teams really, really well. So, that under at 221.5, that's what it started at. It's down to about 220, 219.5, depending where you find it. I would still get that, maybe even tease the Bulls up with that under. Feeling pretty good about the under. So I'm still going to take some of that, sprinkle a little bit on that money line for the Bulls, and probably put a little teaser out there too, because this is one of my favorite games and one I'll definitely be watching.
Yeah, and the Bulls' fifth in defensive rating overall, have not really skipped a beat on the road. And there's just Damian Lillard has not found his shooting rhythm yet. It's just a tough matchup for those guards against, you mentioned Derek Jones, a little revenge theory for him tonight. He'll be geared up to try to stop the Blazers, and their lineup combinations have just been a bit awkward alongside those two guards. They're actually getting negative. They have a negative net rating when both Dame and CJ are on the floor together. Versus slightly positive when one of them is sitting. It's just been the same recipe for a long time, and it's not really producing any different results for Portland. And I think you sub in a rookie head coach instead of a veteran like Terry Stotts, and you're seeing some of the margins become exploitable for teams that really know what to do. And again, I will back Billy Donovan all day. In this coaching matchup, I will back these Bulls, who really, except for, the Warriors, who are just lights out right now, have just handled business out here on the West Coast. And this is an easier matchup than, I think, going on the road against the Clippers in their most recent win, in which they went hella under. So, I like the under, like the Bulls. I agree with you on all that.
100%. Yep, we're aligned. We'll be enjoying this one either way as it takes place on the West Coast tonight for sure. That is all the time that we have for today. Make sure to like and subscribe to the page. Often have those gift card opportunities in those player props video. Make sure you check that out as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.